This is Nikki in Niagara coming to you from Niagara Falls, Canada. I am doing my reading book haul today. I have a lot of books, so I decided to give it its own video. So if you're interested in my reading, you can stay tuned, and we're just going to get into it. So the majority of the books here came from Book Outlet, as they had a couple of sales on right after each other, and I got sucked in. So, but first of all, let me show you what I got from the Abominable book club. I get the bare bones set, which means I just get the books. I don't get the doodads, the pins, the soaps, that sort of thing. So the main feature of the new release that we got is The Children God Forgot by Graham Masterton. I've never read him, but I have been wanting to. So let's read the synopsis on this. So this looks like a little bit of a thick book, but it's not really. It just has over 400 pages. A terrifying birth. A young woman is rushed to hospital with stabbing pains in her stomach. The chief surgeon delivers a living child with the face of an angel and the body of a tentacled monster. Sounds Lovecraftian there. An escape from the dark. Engineer Gemma is plunged into darkness in a tunnel beneath London. Before she escapes, a strange green light illuminates a cluster of ghostly figures. Gemma is certain they were children. A supernatural threat. D.C. Jerry Pardo and D.S. Jamila Patel of Tooting Police have investigated the occult before, but nowhere as horrible as the city sewers. Down here in the dark, where the dead come back to life, witchcraft is the only force strong enough to save you. And we've got blurbs by Stephen King and James Herbert. So the other new book that we got is a periodical, I will call it, because it's too nice to be called a magazine. And this is the Gastling, which is a British publication. I have never heard of it before, so obviously I've never even seen it before. This is book number 14, and it contains tales of ghosts, the macabre, and the oh so strange. Definitely sounds like a publication I could get into. So it tells us the authors here, and the book is I just love the way it looks. The print, there are pictures, color ones, and black and white, monochrome ones with black added. I guess this was kind of like the Halloween version, since there's a lot of orange in it, is what I'm guessing, but not necessarily. So I guess I can't really tell you much about this, except that it's a collection of short stories by new and upcoming authors, I should say, and has wonderful graphic design. So I'll tell you who the artists are. I keep saying artists, I'm used to doing coloring books. Authors, I've not heard of any of them. Timothy Granville, Matthew G. Reese, Janice Littingham, Verity Holloway, Anna Ojinatka, Ashley Stokes, Mike Adamson, Simon John Parkin, and Sinead Purseau. And then the second-hand book, which I have so much fun opening, is always wrapped in craft paper with a string, sealed with a wax seal, and then inside we get a gently used vintage book. So we've got James Herbert here who I am wanting to get back into reading. And this one is called 48. Never heard of this one. This is your standard mass market. And I think it's from, what year was this? Let's take a look. That always interests me. Get to the copyright page. So it was originally published in 1996, and this is the 1997 overseas edition. In 1945, Hitler unleashes the Blood Death on Britain as his final act of vengeance. Hoke, an American pilot and one of a tiny minority with a blood group unaffected by the killer disease, has survived among the debris and the dead of London for 3 years. Ooh, so it's a virus story. Love those. Now in 48, he is running for his life, hunted through the ruined city's ravaged streets by a desperate group of slow-dying fascist black shirts. They are after his blood. It'll take your breath away. Doesn't sound too bad. Next book is another Ruth Ware book. I say another because I have read several of her books, though I can't remember which ones. I know I've read The Woman in Cabin 10. Whichever one was her first one. Was it In a Dark, Dark Wood? And The Lying Game. I'm pretty sure those are the ones that I've read. So this is The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. And this is from 2019. Oh, so we don't have any information on the back about what the book is about. That doesn't help. Alright, well let's read this one right here, which seems to be the longest one here. So this is what the New York Times book review had to say of it. Let's just say that if you've got an echo, you're going to unplug it as soon as you finish the book. What Ware does beautifully is infuse the turn of the key with a creepy gothic sensibility. Oh, that's right. This is a modern take on the turn of the screw. And I wanted to read the turn. I've never read the Turn of the Screw, so I'm going to read that first, and then I'll read this. What Ware does beautifully is infuse the turn of the key with a creepy gothic sensibility. For all of the novel's contemporary touches, particularly the house's malevolent smart technology, she has delivered an old-fashioned horror story peopled by children with eyes full of malice, a dour housekeeper straight out of Rebecca, and an inscrutable handyman. Ooh, that sounds good. Next up is a non-fiction book. I've read 3 of Jeff Gwynn's books. I've read Manson, Jim Jones, whatever that one was called, and the Bonnie and Clyde one. So this is The Vagabonds, the story of Henry Ford and Thomas Edison's 10-year road trip. Now, I believe this is one of his fairly new ones. Like, I think maybe it came between Manson and the Jeff Jones one. Not sure. It's a 2019 book. So I'll read a bit of this. In 1914, Henry Ford and naturalist John Burroughs visited Thomas Edison in Florida, and together they toured the Everglades. The following year, Ford, Edison, and the tire maker Harvey Firestone embarked on a summer camping trip and decided to call themselves the Vagabonds. They would continue their summer road trips until 1925, when they announced that their fame made it too difficult for them to carry on. Although the Vagabonds traveled with an entourage of chefs, butlers, and others, this elite fraternity also had a serious purpose: to examine the conditions of America's roadways and improve the practicality of automobile travel. When they began, cars were unreliable and roads were even worse. There were no campgrounds, parking lots, or roadside gas stations. But by 1925, all that had changed, and the summer trip by automobile had become a part of American life. In The Vagabonds, Jeff Gwynne shares the story of this pivotal moment in American history, but he also examines the important relationship between the older Edison and the younger Ford, who once worked for the famous inventor. The Vagabonds' road trips make the automobile ubiquitous and magnified Ford's reputation, even as Edison's diminished. As the automobile came of age, it transformed the American landscape, the American economy, and the American way of life, and it made Henry Ford the new Thomas Edison. Now, this sounds really, really good. I hope it gets into kind of the seedier side of both of these people's background. Also got my very first paperback from hell. You'll know, was it last month or the month before that I read Grady Hendrix's Paperbacks from Hell? So I'm going to start looking into the series. This one is The Auctioneer by Joan Sampson, and this was originally written in 1976. Oh, 1975. So The Auctioneer. Harrowing tensions explode in a series of events that could happen anywhere to anyone, just as they do to John Moore, whose days of freedom run out, who is stripped of his possessions, his courage, and his hopes by the ominous presence of a stranger impossible to resist. I love this. I love brand new books. And I picked up myself a Valancourt book. I believe this is part of the, I think they're called Valancourt International. This is The Tenant by Roland Topper. It is originally written in 1966 and has been 1964 in the original French. When Trelkovsky, a Parisian in desperate need of a place to live, comes across an affordable apartment, he jumps at the chance to rent it, undaunted by the fact that the previous tenant hurled herself screaming through the window. What happens next is a harrowing descent into paranoia and madness as a series of bizarre events unfolds that leave Trelkovsky doubting his sanity and fearing for his life. First published in French in 1964 and adapted for Roman Polanski's 1976 film version, Roland Topper's surreal and hallucinatory horror masterpiece, The Tenant, returns to print at last with a new introduction. Of this, I can't wait to read. Got myself a new Junji Ito book. This is Venus in the Blind Spot and is actually a novel rather than it is a collection. So I'll just read you a bit here. This striking collection presents the most remarkable short works of Junji Ito's career, featuring an adaptation of Edogawa Rampo's classic horror story, The Human Chair, and fan favorite, The Enigma of Amigara Fault, with a deluxe presentation including special color pages and showcasing illustrations from his acclaimed long-form manga, No Longer Human. Each chilling tale invites readers to revel in a world of terror. Now that's one I need to get, No Longer Human, but it's out of print and costs a bit of money, so gorgeous, gorgeous. I just love his black and white illustrations. Just look at this, like this girl. let's see, is there anything kind of gory in here? But anyways, the color pages are at the beginning, and we have a couple of pull-out, or a pull-out poster here. So we've got this on this side, which is quite innocent looking. And then on this side, we have this, which is awesome. Reminds me of Uzumaki. Oh, love it, love it, love it. There's a book out there that features his art. I would love to have that as well. Oh, let's take a look at what it looks like naked. I always like to do that. Ooh, nice. So this, I believe, is the last book in the Day by Day Armageddon. It's either the last or the fourth. This is the last one. So I've got all of them now, and I've read the first two. So I just have the last two to read. Oh, nice, big, thick letters. That won't take long. This is Zombie Apocalypse, and it's like the last book in the series, so I'm not going to read the synopsis. And then we have Unravelling Oliver by Liz Nugent. I don't think I've read this author before, but she's got a blurb by Ruth Ware. Let's take a look at it naked. Just plain paper covers. Has a nice jacket though. So this is going to be a modern book. 2014. Oliver Ryan has the perfect life. Elegant and seductive, he wants for nothing, sharing a lovely home with his steadfast wife, Alice, who illustrates the award-winning children's books that have brought him wealth and fame. Until one evening, after eating the dinner Alice has carefully prepared, Oliver savagely assaults her and leaves her for dead. The people who know Oliver can only speculate about the reasons behind his brutal act. His empty-headed mistress, Moya, vain and petulant, the French vineyard owner, Veronique, who tragically lost everything the summer she employed him, Alice's friend Barney, who has nursed an unrequited love for her since childhood, Oliver's college pal, Michael, struggling with voiceless longings that have shamed him for years. What none of them understands is the dark secret that lies behind his immaculate facade. The revelations that come to light as the layers of Oliver's past are peeled away are as brutal as his singular act of violence. His decades of careful deception have masked a life irrevocably marked by abandonment, envy, and shame. And as the details of that life are laid bare, Oliver discovers that outrunning his demons is harder than it looks. With its insight into the mind of a psychopath emerging from the wreckage of his own misbegotten past, Unravelling Oliver is a chilling page-turner. So yeah, that sounds good. This is embossed on here, which is kind of cool. And then I got me a couple of Christopher Moore books. These are the second and the third book in the Fool trilogy, I guess it is. They don't really have anything in common with each other except that they're take-offs on several Shakespeare plays each, and they all contain the character the Fool. So we have the Serpent of Venice, which obviously is a take on the Merchant of Venice. I'll read you the back of this one so you get an idea for the story and not the next one. Venice, a really long time ago, Pocket of dog snogging, the irresistible mischief hero of Fool finds himself in a spot of bother, having been lured to a dark dungeon by cunning plotters. Rather than enjoying a bottle of rare wine and a young lady of even rarer beauty as promised, Pocket finds himself naked, chained, and left to die in a watery cell. Just as he thinks it can't get any worse, he feels something slither against his thigh and realizes he's not alone. Someone or something is there in the dark with him. So Christopher Moore writes irreverent comedies, humor books. The Fool ones are also very, the word used here is naughty. And the next one is called Shakespeare for Squirrels, and this one is a takeoff on Midsummer Night's Eve, I believe. And yeah, that's right. So yeah, these, I love Christopher Moore. This was one question a day for you and me, a 3-year journal, daily reflections for couples. This is a beautiful little book. It kind of looks like a Bible. It's got painted edges. It's got a ribbon bookmark in it, and it has flexi cover covers, so it's flexi bound. It will. Oh no, you got to break the spine to get it to lay straight. But yeah, so this just has something for every day of the year. It doesn't matter what year you start or where in the book you start. You would just use it for a year forwards. So you write something down and then your partner writes something down, and you do that for 3 years in a row. So like this says March 25th. I last cried about blank. March 26th. What makes you feel like a kid? March 27, my favorite flower is blank. So you see, some of them are very simple, and some of them you have to think a little bit. I love when my partner surprises me with blank. And then I got this one for myself because I am terrible at cleaning, and this looked like it might do some good for me. It's called Cleaning Sucks, and Unbleep Your Habitat Guided Journal for Less Mess, Less Stress, and a Home You Don't Hate. And that is exactly what I need. And so it's a work-through journal, which starts off right at the very beginning where you think about your home and you think about what your problems are, and it goes right through into giving you tasks to do, so that by the end of the book you've got yourself cleaning and letting go of perfect and embracing good enough is the logo one there. And the next book is Lisa Jewell, The Family Upstairs. Lisa Jewell is someone that I've always wanted to read, and I picked this one because it's about a family, and I love books that are about family. Or, you know, if there's like a mystery going on, that's better. But I do like all books that centers around a family and what's going on in each person's lives. I also like that to extend into, like, say, neighborhoods on the street, or a neighbor, or like an apartment, a small apartment block, or the floor on a larger one, or permanent residents of a hotel. A closed small community is definitely books I like to read. Now I'm just going to take a sip of my pop. Soon after her birthday, Libby Jones returns home from work to find the letter she has been waiting for 25 years. She rips it open with one driving thought: I am finally going to know who I am. She learns not only the identity of her birth parents, but also that she is the sole inheritor of their abandoned mansion on the banks of the Thames. Everything in Libby's life is about to change, but what she can't possibly know is that others have been waiting for this day as well, and she is on a collision course to meet them. The family upstairs brings us the can't look away story of three entangled families living in a house with the darkest of secrets. Ooh. Then we got a non-fiction book here, The Coroner's Journal, Forensics and the Art of Stalking Death. So this, it has a foreword by Patricia Cornwell, and this is a coroner writing about his life as a coroner. When Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, Dr. Louis Catilde's, yes, that's who wrote it too, experience underwent its most severe test. With the hospitals in chaos, he remained in New Orleans under dangerous and often unbearable conditions, attending to the sick and injured and eventually to the dead. As chief coroner of Baton Rouge, tending to the dead is what Cataldi, oh, I can't say his name, Cataldi. A little town with big city problems, Baton Rouge means red stick and lives up to its bloody name. Cataldi has seen unusual and disturbing cases, a professor killed by a barn door, a woman's bones scattered in a churchyard, and as many as 3 serial killers loose at once. He worked the scene of a Malvo Mohammed Beltway sniper shooting and helped apprehend Baton Rouge serial killer Derek Todd Lee in a controversial case featured in an ABC primetime special with Diane Sawyer and Patricia Cornwell. Cataldi's maverick ways have made him a favorite target of the media, but he offers no apologies. He speaks for those who cannot speak for themselves. Graphic and frank, this is a unique close-up look at his life spent stalking death in the Deep South. So, yeah, I can't wait to read that. Okay, so first of all, I've got a Clive Barker book. I am trying to get all his books and to read them all. This is the Scarlet Gospels. When was this first written? 2015. The Scarlet Gospels, an instant New York Times bestseller, takes readers back many years to the early days of 2 of Clive Barker's most iconic characters in a battle of good and evil as old as time. The long-beleaguered detective Harry Damour, investigator of all supernatural, magical, and malevolent crimes, faces off against his formidable and intensely evil rival, Pinhead, the priest of hell. And I have to tell you, that excites me right there. All they had to say was the return of Pinhead, and I would have been there. I got a couple of Sarah Waters books that I hadn't read. This one first, The Little Stranger. One post-war summer in his home in rural Warwickshire, Dr. Faraday is called to a patient at Hundreds Hall. Home to the Ayres family for more than 2 centuries, the Georgian house, once impressive and handsome, is now in decline. Its owners, mother, son, and daughter, are struggling to keep pace with a changing society. But are the Ayres haunted by something more sinister than a dying way of life? Little does Dr. Faraday know how closely and how terrifyingly their story is about to become entwined with his. And it's called a classic Gothic page-turner. If you've never read Sarah Waters before, I urge you to start with Fingersmith. Fantastic. Now, I've always wanted to read this. I read Dan Simmons' book about Charles Dickens. What's that? What do they say right here? I guess he wrote this one before. Yeah, anyways, I'm pretty sure it was about Charles Dickens, the one that I read. So this is called The Terror, and it's a nice big chunkster. I love chunky books. The men on board the HMS Terror, part of the 1845 Franklin expedition, the first ever to use steam-powered vessels to search for the legendary Northwest Passage, are entering a second summer in the Arctic Circle without a thaw, stranded in a nightmarish landscape of encroaching ice and darkness. Well, that was a long sentence. So this takes place, it's historical fiction with a supernatural twist to it. So this is a real expedition that happened up here in the north of Canada. Endlessly cold, they struggle to survive with poisonous rations, a dwindling coal supply, and ships buckling in the grip of crushing ice. But the real enemy is even more terrifying. There is something out there in the frigid darkness, an unseen predator stalking their ship, a monstrous terror clawing to get in. Now, I've read a lot about the polar expeditions. It's something that I used to really enjoy reading about. So this will interest me in more than one way. Another James Herbert book. I've been trying to start slowly reading his books. I only ever did read 2 books. When I was young, I read The Rats and I read The Fog. But that's as far as I ever got with his books. So this is The Secret of Crickley Hall. It says it's been made into a BBC series, but I haven't seen that. The Callie family have had a terrible year. Gabe has brought his wife Eve and daughters Lauren and Callie to the peaceful seaside village of Hollow Bay in Devon. He can work, and even the kids can have some peace and quiet. Perhaps they can try as a family to come to terms with what's happened to them. Their new home is Crickley Hall, a large house at the bottom of Devil's Cleeve, a massive tree-lined gorge. A river flows past a forgotten garden. It seems a perfect retreat. I just love books about houses. Yet the family soon discovers that there's something not quite right about this place. It is constantly cold. Hushed whimpering noises are heard, and though they shut the cellar door every night, it's always open again in the morning. As the terror mounts, the Callies soon come to regret their decision to move, for the secret of Crickley Hall is beyond all nightmares. This is another big chunkster. This is the other Sarah Walters book that I picked up, The Paying Guests. It is 1922 and London is tense. Ex-servicemen are disillusioned, the out of work and the hungry are demanding change. And in the south of the city, in a quiet home on genteel Champion Hill, life is about to be transformed. Widowed Mrs. Ray and her unmarried daughter Frances find themselves obliged to take in tenants. The arrival of Lillian and Leonard Barber, a modern young couple of the emerging middle class, brings unsettling things with it. Lively music, colorful clothing, open doors, and fun. As Lillian and Frances are drawn into an unexpected friendship, loyalties begin to shift. Secrets are confessed, dangerous desires admitted. The most ordinary of lives, it seems, can explode into passion and drama. And in the house on Champion Hill, no one can foresee just how far the disturbances will reach. Ooh. Her books are so suspenseful. More Clive Barker that I haven't read, The Damnation Game. There are things worse than death. There are games so seductively evil, so wondrously vile, no gambler can resist. Amid the shadow-scarred rubble of World War II, Joseph Whitehead dared to challenge the dark champion of life's ultimate game. Now a millionaire, locked in a terror-shrouded fortress of his own design, Joseph Whitehead has hell to pay, and no soul is safe from this ravaging fear, the resurrected fury, the unspeakable desire of the damnation game. Ooh. Oh, I love that. Okay, the next book is a biggie. Look at that, and it's trade paperback size. Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky. So this is his first book since The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Christopher is 7 years old. Christopher is the new kid in town. Christopher has an imaginary friend. We can swallow our fear or let our fear swallow us. Single mother Kate Reese is on the run. Determined to improve life for herself and her son, Christopher, she flees an abusive relationship in the middle of the night with her child. Together, they find themselves drawn to the tight-knit community of Mill Grove, Pennsylvania. It's as far off the beaten track as they can get. Just one highway in, one highway out. At first, it seems like the perfect place to finally settle down. Then Christopher vanishes. For 6 long days, no one can find him, until Christopher emerges from the woods at the edge of town, unharmed but not unchanged. He returns with a voice in his head only he can hear, with a mission only he can complete. Build a treehouse in the woods by Christmas, or his mother and everyone in the town will never be the same again. Just got a couple of books left here, and I'm trying to grab them out. Okay, so first of all is Clive Barker. This is his young adult, one of his young adult books. It's Arabat? Yeah. But this is the second volume called Days of Magic, Nights of War. So I'm not going to read the back of this because it is, we don't want to know what happened in the first book. So this is a chunkster, but it's so it's got really big words and line spaces. The next one is a middle grade book. A month or 2 ago, I read a book by Cheris Cotter. She's a Canadian author. It was called The Swallow, and I found it it was just an absolutely wonderful ghost story. So I thought I would try another one of her books. This one is called The Painting. Annie and her mother don't see eye to eye. Her mother is all about facts and order. Annie loves art and daydreaming. When Annie finds a painting of a lonely White House, she is immediately... Lighthouse, not White House. A lonely lighthouse. She is immediately drawn to it, and her mother wishes it would stay banished in the attic. Then Annie's mother slips into a coma following a car accident, and strange things begin to happen. Annie finds herself falling into the painting where she meets Claire, a girl of her own age, living at the lighthouse. Claire's mother, Maisie, is the artist behind the painting, and she and Claire have a difficult relationship. Annie feels a deep, mysterious connection to Claire, but feels powerless to help as Claire and Maisie's battles grow more and more bitter. Desperately worried about her own mother, Annie struggles to understand what is happening. Who is Claire? Why can Annie travel through the painting? And what does it all have to do with her silent mother lying cold and still in a hospital room? Then we've got Alexandria by Paul Kingsnorth. When swans return, Alexandria will fall. 1,000 years from now, a small religious community lives in what were once the fens of eastern England. They are perhaps the world's last human survivors. Now they find themselves stalked by a force that draws ever closer, and that seems to have brought them to the brink of extinction. Set in a time on the far side of an apocalypse, and perhaps on the verge of another, Paul Kingsnorth's radical new novel is a work of matchless mythic imagination. Oh, it says here that this is the conclusion to an extraordinary fiction project that began with The Wake, one that maps 2,000 years of troubled human history. So I'm going to have to look and find that book, The Wake. Maybe this is a duology. And then finally, this novella by Stephen Graham Jones. So far, the only thing I've read by Stephen Graham Jones is his newest, My Heart is a Chainsaw, I believe. So I really enjoyed that and want to pick up a few more of his books. A horrifying, inward-looking novella mapping the interior is a literary horror tale about race in America deeply rooted in the contemporary Native American experience. Walking through his own house at night, a 15-year-old thinks he sees a person in full Blackfeet regalia step through a doorway. Instead of the people who could be there, his mother or his brother, the figure reminds him of his long-gone father, who died mysteriously before his family left the reservation. When he follows it, he discovers his house is bigger and deeper than he knew. So it's calling this book part Essie Hinton and part Shirley Jackson. So to me, that puts in my mind of a gothic coming-of-age book, which sounds really good. So this would be a quick read. Just a tad over 100 pages. And that's it, my friends. Those are the books that I purchased this month to do some reading in the future. And I hope you enjoyed your time here. I hope you found a book that you perhaps had not heard of before or haven't read before. And in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.